not scientist, Pastor Chad, as you can tell by my not scientist garb here, is what I could come up with on such short notice. I watched a video online, or I saw it somewhere that really intrigued me, and it was someone had popped a balloon with the juice out of an orange peel. And maybe some of you smart boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, young men and young ladies, already knew that. I didn't know that, so I looked into it. So here it is, and I'm going to use this to talk about our verse for today. So I'm going to take this regular old orange, and I'm going to cut it open with my trusty knife without chopping off my fingers, hopefully. And I'm just going to take a little piece of the orange peel because that's all I want. I don't want the actual orange juice because that doesn't do it. So there will be a little bit of orange juice coming out of here. Maybe you'll see that, maybe you won't. But it's actually what's coming out of the orange peel that pops this balloon. So see, there's the orange juice coming out, not doing anything. And then we have the well, it doesn't seem to be working. Take one I already cut up here. And try this again. There's the orange juice, which isn't doing anything. These are pretty ripe oranges, so the orange peel doesn't have a whole lot of juice in it anymore. And it is eating it through. It's not popping it entirely, but it is making the balloon shrink because it has eaten through a little bit. And I can't seem to get it to pop there, but let's try this other one here. There we go. See, it does indeed work. It didn't work very well for me, but like I said, I think these are pretty ripe oranges, so they're not popping it as well. And what I'm told by someone who is involved in science is that is the limonene that's in the orange peel that's doing it. It's not the acid that's in the orange that maybe we would think that it is, the citric acid, but it's the limonene. And that's the stuff in the orange peel that gives us that nice, beautiful smell of an orange. And now I want to try on a different type of balloon. I'm going to try and grab it here by the stem and put it down here carefully. And I was trying this earlier, and what I was doing, no matter what I did, see there's the orange juice coming out. When I squeezed that on there, and I know I was having difficulty with the stuff that did actually pop. When I squeezed that limonene on there, I could not get that to pop. And why that is what I'm told is that the limonene and the weaker type of balloon like this one is are hydrocarbons. Yeah, hydrocarbons. And like substances like that will dissolve each other, or one will dissolve the other. This is actually a polycarbon, and it's a volcanic, I think I'm saying that wrong, type of rubber, and it has a cross polymer, so it doesn't have the rubber going parallel to each other. It also has some other pieces going perpendicular to it, so it makes it stronger and a different type of chemical bond, and therefore it doesn't pop it like that is. So we'll talk about what that has to do with our verse here in a second. Well, like I said, I am not a scientist, but I'm doing the best I can to be a youth pastor, and I wanted to connect our science experiment to our passage for the day. So this is the title of the message today is "This is a Test." And James 1:2-4 says, "Consider it pure joy, my brothers, whenever you face trials of many kinds, because you know that the testing of your faith develops perseverance. Perseverance must finish its work so that you may be mature and complete, not lacking anything." In our science experiment, the regular balloons couldn't stand up to the limonene, but the cross polymer balloons could because they were different. They weren't made up of the same hydrocarbon compound.
When we only hear from people that we agree with, or when we only go through experiences that are pleasant, we don't grow. We just simply can't grow. It's kind of like muscle building. If any of you have ever been to building muscle, when you work out, your muscles actually tear, and it's a good kind of tear, though it's not a bad kind of tear. And when the muscle rests and when it actually builds itself up or repairs itself, it actually builds and it grows and it becomes stronger. When you and I face things that are less than ideal, we can grow from them. And when we actually listen to people who have different opinions from us, we also can formulate our own opinions, also growing. And what I'm specifically talking about is in our faith. No one in the right mind would ask for pain on purpose in their life. James says to consider it pure joy when you go through a trial. Pure joy when you go through a trial, that seems like counterintuitive. That's not what we want to do. We don't want to be joyful when we're going through a trial. We want to complain about it or just wallow up in our suffering for it. But he says to consider it pure joy. And I think the only way to see joy in a trial is to be able to see the end and what it will produce. James says tests and trials for your faith produce perseverance, and perseverance is being able to stick to something. And the thing we're talking about here is our faith. And faith is really important to keep when you go through a trial. You need it when you go through a trial or anything like that. And if you persevere through the trial, in the end, he says that develops maturity. Maturity is defined as reaching the most advanced stage. And when we're talking about faith, I think the most advanced stage of our faith is fully depending on God or full reliance on God. And that's hard to do. It's easy to say, but hard to do. Hard to have full reliance on God. And I think I'm still working on that. I know I still depend on myself a lot. There's a great example of a guy by the name of George Mueller, who was a missionary in England in the 1800s. And he and eventually his wife came along to doing what he was doing in missionary work, and he had an orphanage. And I can't remember how many kids came through there. It was in the tens of thousands of kids that had come through his orphanage. And he displayed a full reliance on God. And he did face trials. He was writing, I think, for an organization, and he had asked for their permission to go out and do stuff like what he was doing. And they had told him no. He also became really ill once, and then he went back home in England and he became ill again. So he faced setbacks, but he, in the end, after that, was showing his full dependence on God. The story goes with him that he never asked for anybody to donate anything specifically. He never went up to anybody to ask them to donate to his orphanage, which he needed money to keep it going, but also to build them. He built several, I think there was 5 at one time that he was building. And he always displayed full reliance on God, that God was going to come through. And there's also stories of him needing to provide food for the kids in the orphanage. And they sometimes, just hours before they really needed it, someone would come through with groceries. And you can look him up and find out about him. But he's a really good example of someone who had faith maturity. In this time of social distancing, maybe you find yourself being really tested by this. I know for some of you, it's really tough being isolated from your friends, and maybe even some of you, your family members. Or maybe you're going through another trial right now, just specific to your own life. I want to challenge you to consider it pure joy. Joy is not circumstantial. How you can view your test or trial of your faith is looking past your circumstances, seeing God help you persevere and mature you in your faith. Hopefully, one day we can look back on this social distancing thing and see how God helped us to persevere through it and help us to mature in our faith. Or maybe in your own life, maybe you have, like I said, you have another specific trial that you're facing or a test that you're facing. And maybe, hopefully, you can look back on it and see that God helped you to persevere through it, helped you to stand up under it, and could see, hopefully you can look back and see that he has matured you in your faith in him. And all the while, hopefully we can look ahead right now and consider it pure joy that we're facing a trial.